Since the beginning of their press tour for the movie Wicked, Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo have often been seen wiping away tears in interviews. What was it about these characters, Glinda and Elphaba, that struck such a deep chord with them? To understand why playing in Wicked was so significant for both of them, we must take a look back at their lives and careers up till now. Behind the applause and accolades, there's a deep emotional journey that has shaped not only their careers, but also the characters they portray in Wicked. Both women, known for their extraordinary talent and star power, have had their share of heart-wrenching experiences, some of which the world witnessed firsthand. In this video, we'll explore how their roles in Wicked became not just a performance, but a cathartic journey of healing and self-discovery. We'll see that their personal lives, in many ways, mirror the characters they play in the movie, and that both Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo have actually used the traumatic experiences they've lived in order to embody Glinda and Elphaba. By the end, we'll uncover the powerful connection between their personal struggles and the roles they've embraced, and what happens when real-life trauma and grief collide with the transformative power of art. Ariana Grande's early career was marked by a series of significant pressures and stressors that deeply impacted both her personal and professional life. From a very young age, she was thrust into the limelight, starting her career at just 8 years old and getting her first major acting role on Broadway at age 15. But it was her portrayal of Cat Valentine on Nickelodeon's Victorious, and later Sam and Cat, that propelled her to widespread fame. While these shows helped her build a devoted fan base, they also set the stage for challenges that would follow her well into adulthood. At Nickelodeon, she learned to conform to the expectations of powerful executives who didn't always have her best interest at heart. Despite the massive success of these shows, Ariana Grande later admitted that the content she was involved in on Nickelodeon was often inappropriate for a children's platform. Looking back now, she feels discomfort with certain aspects of the show, especially how humor and innuendo were pushed to the edge.
Now looking back on some of the clips, I'm like, damn, like really?
Yeah.
And then the things that weren't approved for the network were snuck onto like our website or whatever it was, and that is another discovery.
The lack of support systems for child stars, particularly the inadequate mental health resources available during her time at Nickelodeon, left Ariana Grande feeling emotionally exposed and vulnerable. She's gone on to state that she's still reprocessing these past experiences, a sign that the emotional and psychological effects of her early career continue to linger.
My relationship to it has and is currently and has been changing, and I'm reprocessing a lot of what the experience was like.
The pressure of growing up in the public eye, coupled with the exploitation of her image, left her with a sense of vulnerability that she has had to learn to navigate as she transitioned into music and beyond. Ariana Grande's journey into the music industry began with her debut single, Put Your Hearts Up, released in 2011. This bubblegum pop track, inspired by 1950s and 1960s doo-wop, introduced her to the world outside of her Nickelodeon fame. It was crafted to appeal to a younger audience and align with the expectations placed on her as a child star. While some fans appreciated the song's positive message, it didn't create the momentum Ariana Grande had hoped for, and it became clear that she wasn't ready to settle into a conventional pop career. In a 2014 interview for Rolling Stone, Ariana Grande herself expressed dissatisfaction with the track and later described it as inauthentic and fake. She revealed that she was pressured to make the song for her Nickelodeon audience, and this sense of disconnect between her personal vision and the public persona she was being asked to cultivate marked the beginning of her struggle to carve out her identity as a serious artist. Her transition from a Nickelodeon star to a serious artist truly began with the release of her debut album Yours Truly in 2013. It was received positively by critics, who were surprised by Ariana Grande's vocal maturity and the quality of the album given her background in children's television. The album's lead single, The Way, featuring Mac Miller, became a breakout hit and debuted at number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100. But even though critics acknowledged her talent, Ariana Grande still faced the challenge of shedding her Nickelodeon image. Fans were slow to accept her as a serious musician and often drew comparisons between her and her idol, Mariah Carey, which both helped and hindered her evolution. With My Everything, released the following year, Ariana Grande further expanded her musical range by blending dance pop, EDM, and R&B into a more mainstream sound. The album's hit singles like Problem and Break Free and Bang Bang showcased her ability to produce chart-topping tracks that resonated with a broad audience. But it was probably the album Dangerous Woman, released in 2016, that helped Ariana Grande showcase a more mature and confident side of her persona. The title track, Dangerous Woman, alongside singles like Into You and Side to Side, revealed a more seductive aspect of her artistry. The album artwork, which featured her in a latex bunny mask, symbolized this transformation as it reflected her shift from the innocent pop star to a more confident and multifaceted woman. But despite her immense success and artistic evolution up to 2016, Ariana Grande's life would soon be marked by an event that would forever alter both her career and personal journey.
Oh my God. What's going on? What just happened? What's going on? Oh my God!
In May 2017, during Ariana Grande's Dangerous Woman tour, a devastating bombing at her Manchester concert left 22 dead and hundreds injured. It abruptly shifted the narrative of her career and thrust her into a reality filled with grief and emotional turmoil. The attack was not only a traumatic event, but a transformative moment that forced her to publicly confront deep emotional pain. The trauma from the attack was profound, leading to symptoms of PTSD as well as survivor's guilt, a weight that made it difficult to process her own trauma when so many others had suffered far greater losses. This devastating event shattered the illusion of invulnerability that had surrounded her up to that point and forced Ariana Grande to reckon with the emotional cost of fame in a way she had never experienced before. This period marked the beginning of a profound personal transformation where she learned to shed the superficial parts of her public persona to face deeper emotional truths. While she had once been celebrated for her ability to project a perfect image of success, she was now confronted with a reality where perfection no longer seemed possible or even desirable. As if the emotional weight of the Manchester bombing weren't enough, she faced another crushing blow in 2018 with the death of her ex-boyfriend, Mac Miller, who passed away from an accidental overdose. His death compounded the grief she was already struggling to process, and Ariana openly discussed the emotional turmoil she experienced in the aftermath. She described the grief as all-consuming, and for the first time in her career, her personal pain became intertwined with her public life in a way that was impossible to separate. Some of Mac Miller's fans unfairly blamed her for his death, which only added another layer of emotional weight to her grief. This unfair blame was a reflection of the constant pressure she faced from the public to maintain a flawless image, despite the very real pain she was experiencing. In response to this series of overwhelming challenges, Ariana used her art as a way to heal. The creation of her album, Thank You Next, became a cathartic process, allowing her to channel her grief and pain into her music. Through this period of intense grief and public scrutiny, Ariana Grande, much like Glinda in Wicked, learned to embrace her true self as she shed the expectations and pressures that had once defined her. In the process, she emerged as a more authentic version of herself, much like Glinda's own journey of self-discovery and growth.
The realities of this civil war are nowhere more apparent than in the frontline town of Aba, which is now in the hands of federal troops. Those demanding a quick kill policy admit that many civilian lives would be lost, but not as many, they claim, as the number that will be killed and will die of starvation if the war drags on at its present pace.
Cynthia Erivo's journey into the public eye was marked by profound personal challenges that have shaped both her career and her approach to acting. She was born in 1987 in Stockwell, London, to Nigerian immigrant parents. Her mother, Edith, who was just 15 when the Nigerian Civil War broke out, raised her and her sister as a single parent. When Cynthia Erivo was still a child, her parents separated and her father eventually severed ties with her when she was just 16. The final interaction with her father occurred in a London tube station. He met her to give her a travel card and told her and her sister he wanted no more part in their lives. The public disownment by her father left an indelible scar and forced her to navigate her formative years without a paternal figure. Her acceptance into the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art was a pivotal moment in her career, marking the beginning of her formal training as an actress and providing her with the tools and confidence to begin shaping her craft. However, her transition into the world of drama was not without its challenges. She entered RADA with little prior knowledge of the Academy, making the adjustment to such a prestigious institution particularly difficult. She described her first year as both discovery and struggle, constantly questioning her place at the Academy and whether she truly belonged. This uncertainty about her place at RADA was compounded by the fact that she was one of the few Black students in a predominantly white environment, which created both a cultural and social divide. One of her teachers even described her as quite a handful and a feisty firecracker, which reflected how her strong personality sometimes clashed with the expectations placed on her by both her classmates and instructors. These early struggles with fitting in and being accepted pushed Cynthia Erivo to confront not only her place within RADA, but also her place in an industry that often failed to understand or value her background. Her early professional career was marked by limited opportunities in the UK entertainment industry, where she faced discrimination and difficulty securing roles. Despite graduating from RADA, Cynthia Erivo quickly found that simply being a graduate of such a prestigious institution wasn't enough to secure work in the competitive UK theater scene. She felt the need to make herself smaller to fit in, an experience that reflected the racial and cultural challenges she faced in an industry that often limited the scope of roles available to people of color. She persevered, and her talent eventually shone through in her theater work, particularly once she landed the main role in the UK version of The Color Purple in 2013. The turning point in her career came when she moved to the United States. Her portrayal of Celie in the 2015 Broadway revival of The Color Purple marked her breakthrough in American theater. The role catapulted her from relative obscurity to stardom, earning her critical acclaim and a Tony Award for Best Actress in a Musical in 2016. This success was a testament to her resilience, as it demonstrated her ability to overcome the barriers she had faced both in the UK and in her personal life. The role of Celie, a character who endures tremendous hardship, resonated deeply with her, as she herself had experienced significant adversity. She often spoke of how Celie's journey mirrored her own experiences with trauma and resilience, and the emotional toll of portraying this character was not lost on her.
She sees everyone for who they are. And I think that's really special, to be able to see everyone for good, even those who've done wrong. It's like everyone around her realizes their own beauty.
This role marked the beginning of Cynthia Erivo's ascent in Hollywood, a world where her talent could be fully appreciated and where she could portray characters with the same depth and resilience that had defined her own life. Her subsequent roles, such as playing Harriet Tubman in the 2019 biopic Harriet, further solidified her place in Hollywood and demonstrated her ability to tackle complex, trauma-informed roles. Despite receiving critical acclaim for her performance, she also faced controversy surrounding her casting as Harriet Tubman, with some questioning whether a British actress should play such an iconic African-American figure. But Cynthia Erivo's personal experiences, including her own family's history with displacement and trauma during the Nigerian Civil War, made her deeply empathetic to the pain and struggle that Tubman had faced. This connection to the character allowed her to deliver a performance that was deeply personal and further demonstrated her ability to channel her own experiences into the roles she plays. Her ongoing commitment to portraying complex, resilient characters is evident in her more recent work, such as her role in Drift, where she portrays Jacqueline, a refugee fleeing war-torn Liberia. This role required her to confront painful realities and push her boundaries as an actress. The emotional investment she brought to the role was significant, and it was likely informed by her own family history, particularly the experiences of her mother during the Nigerian Civil War. Her ability to channel her personal trauma into her performances is a hallmark of her career, and it has allowed her to bring a unique emotional depth to each character she plays. Her journey from growing up in a single-parent household in South London to becoming one of Hollywood's most respected actresses, is a testament to her strength, resilience, and unwavering commitment to her craft. In portraying Elphaba, a character who turns pain into power, she would bring her own history of overcoming hardship to the role to create a deeply personal and resonant performance. The casting process for Wicked was an extensive and rigorous journey that involved considerable deliberation and a high level of scrutiny from the film's director, John M. Chu, and his team. One of the key challenges in casting for Wicked was the musical nature of the role. John Chu emphasized that the casting team needed performers who could handle the emotional depth of the songs without faltering. He also made clear that he wouldn't have made the movie if the right actors for these roles couldn't be found, which highlights the immense pressure that came with casting the leads. This made the audition process even more intense, as the team knew that the success of the film would depend heavily on the performer's ability to bring these complex roles to life. Initially, he had set out with the intention of casting unknown actresses for the lead roles of Elphaba and Glinda, hoping to find fresh faces that could bring new energy to these iconic characters. But as the audition process progressed, the team realized that the emotional depth and vocal prowess required for such a monumental production might be better suited to established talents. This shift in direction led them to consider more seasoned performers, including Cynthia Erivo. Her audition process came later in the casting search, but once she entered the room, she quickly captured the attention of the team. Her renditions of The Wizard and I and Defying Gravity showcased not only her exceptional vocal ability, but also her ability to convey the emotional depth of Elphaba's character. Director John M. Chu was immediately struck by the power and authenticity in Cynthia Erivo's performance, which ultimately convinced him that she was the right choice for the role. For Ariana Grande, the casting process was equally intense and involved a lengthy, weeks-long series of auditions. She faced her own set of challenges during the audition process, particularly with the public's skepticism regarding her ability to portray Glinda, with many questioning whether a pop star best known for her chart-topping hits like Seven Rings could successfully step into that role.
Going off of side to side, I probably would have said the same thing. I probably would have said, why the
Despite the challenges, the secretive nature of her audition process helped her concentrate on refining her portrayal of Glinda without the weight of public opinion influencing her performance. Interestingly, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande never met or performed together during the audition process, which is unusual for such a high-profile project. Their first meeting occurred just hours before their casting announcement, when they were invited to Chu's house to sing together. It was the beginning of a powerful connection between them, which would become a defining aspect of their performances as Elphaba and Glinda. The characters of Glinda and Elphaba in Wicked have a rich and complex history, both in terms of their creation and the broader context of their cultural impact. These characters were originally conceived by author Gregory Maguire in his 1995 novel Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, which presents an alternate version of the well-known story from L. Frank Baum's The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, which was first published in 1900. Maguire's novel reimagines the Wicked Witch of the West as Elphaba. He explores her backstory and motivations, which were previously unexplored in Baum's original work. By giving Elphaba a voice and a backstory rooted in injustice, Maguire introduced a character who was not just evil for the sake of it, but a victim of societal rejection. This transformation from a one-dimensional villain into a deeply empathetic character marked the beginning of Elphaba's evolution from a mere antagonist to a symbol of resilience and defiance. As Maguire's narrative expanded on Elphaba's life, it also fleshed out the role of Glinda, the good witch, as a character caught between privilege, self-interest, and the discovery of her own capacity for growth and change. In Maguire's version, Glinda is portrayed as a complex figure who begins as a shallow and self-centered character, but gradually becomes a more self-aware and empathetic person. Unlike her portrayal in the 1939 film adaptation of The Wizard of Oz, where she is mostly an archetypal good character, the Glinda in Wicked is flawed, ambitious, and human. Her journey, much like Elphaba's, is about personal growth, as she evolves from being someone concerned with her own popularity and superficial charm to a more grounded and understanding individual. Maguire's reimagining allowed audiences to see them as more than just representations of good and evil, but as characters shaped by the complexities of their personal histories, environments, and choices. When the stage adaptation of Wicked premiered on Broadway in 2003, it brought Maguire's characters into the cultural spotlight in a way that had never been done before. Stephen Schwartz's music and lyrics, combined with Winnie Holzman's book, helped to solidify the emotional depth of both characters. Elphaba's famous anthem Defying Gravity became an emblem of both resistance and self-actualization, resonating with audiences who saw in her not just a character from a fantastical world, but a reflection of their own struggles with identity, rejection, and the pursuit of personal freedom. Her green skin, once seen as a mark of her difference, transformed into a symbol of her individuality and challenged viewers to embrace their uniqueness. In contrast, Glinda's character arc, underscored by songs like Popular and For Good, highlighted her journey from vanity and privilege to genuine friendship and self-awareness. Elphaba's iconic status is often tied to her role as a misunderstood figure. Her message of defying gravity, of pushing against the weight of societal expectations, has become a rallying cry for anyone who has ever felt marginalized or silenced. Meanwhile, Glinda's journey from vanity to authenticity serves as a reminder that even those who seem to have it all might still be struggling with their own insecurities and desires for validation. As audiences connect with their stories, they see reflected back their own struggles for identity, acceptance, and growth, making Wicked and its characters as relevant today as when they first appeared on stage. The idea of healing through art is powerfully embodied in the performances of both Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo in Wicked. They've both used their personal histories to shape their portrayals of Glinda and Elphaba, which led them to experience something known as catharsis. Catharsis refers to the emotional release and healing that comes from expressing or confronting deeply personal pain, trauma, or grief. For Ariana Grande, the opportunity to play Glinda in Wicked served as a homecoming, a return to a world that had shaped her early understanding of acting and performance before she entered the deeply troubled world of Nickelodeon.
I do feel like this role and this project helped me sort of come home to little Ari, and maybe little pieces of her got lost along the way in this crazy industry. And I am so grateful for the ways in which this experience led me back.
Wicked actually was one of the first Broadway shows she saw as a child. In stepping into the shoes of Glinda, she was able to revisit her own past and in some ways make peace with the grief that had marked her adult life. This personal connection to the story allowed Ariana Grande to channel her experiences of grief, particularly the tragic events of the Manchester bombing and the death of her former partner Mac Miller, into her performance. Her reflections on the universal experience of loss resonated deeply with the emotional arc of Glinda's journey, one of learning to move beyond superficiality to truly understand and empathize with others. Cynthia Erivo, too, found her own healing process woven into her portrayal of Elphaba, a character defined by her outsider status and her ability to turn pain into power. Her performance was deeply informed by her personal history, particularly the struggles of her mother, who experienced displacement and hardship during the Nigerian Civil War. She's described her portrayal of Elphaba as a bit of an ode to her mother's resilience and survival, and channeled the strength of her own family history into the role. This deep emotional connection gave her the ability to tap into profound vulnerability, which became essential in conveying her character's internal struggles. Much like Elphaba, Cynthia Erivo has experienced the pain of being an outsider, and she found it both challenging and meaningful to embrace that vulnerability in her performance.
When I got to sing the words, I really meant it. But then when I understood that I had to earn it by looking at my younger self and deciding to take her with me and heal her first, I realized that I actually had to do some of that for myself. So I could understand what that actually meant to look at your younger self and go, hey, come with me. So that when we sing, I'm defying gravity, and nobody in all of us is ever going to bring me down. I meant it.
Her performance was a process of emotional reclamation, where she allowed herself to break down and rebuild, much like her character. In doing so, she not only honored her own history, but also embraced the universality of Elphaba's struggle with identity and rejection. The emotional investment of both actresses in their roles has been especially clear in their interactions with each other. The bond between Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo has played a crucial role in deepening their performances. Both of them have described how they spent time together, learning about each other's personal histories and emotional wounds. This openness allowed them to create a safe space on set where they could access raw emotions and share that energy with each other in their performances. Their connection is particularly palpable in scenes like the Osdas Ballroom, where Cynthia Erivo herself described having a big ol' breakdown due to the emotional weight of the performance. This moment reflects the intensity of their emotional engagement with the material. The willingness to be emotionally vulnerable with each other enhanced their chemistry and turned their on-screen friendship into a symbol of mutual healing and support. It is through this shared emotional journey that they've been able to create performances that transcend the traditional boundaries of acting and offered something deeply human and real that speaks directly to the audience. Throughout their press tour, they've shown many moments of emotional vulnerability and frequently teared up when discussing the significance of their roles in Wicked. Their willingness to express their emotions publicly has added another layer to their performances and showed that their investment in the characters goes beyond the stage. In the end, the performances of Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo in Wicked exemplify the profound power of art as a vehicle for healing. Their ability to channel their personal histories, struggles, and traumas into their roles has allowed them to find catharsis, not just for themselves, but for their audiences as well. In this way, their performances in Wicked serve as a reminder that art has the power to heal, not by erasing pain, but by allowing us to confront and transcend it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more pop culture deep dives.